Do you have the dream of home ownership but often feel like you're being left behind or you don't really know how to make that a reality? I believe that everyone has the opportunity and can make that a reality of becoming a homeowner for themselves. But before we get into this video, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone that has subscribed to this channel. Thank you so much for watching these videos. We really appreciate the feedback that we're getting. Please, if you haven't already, consider subscribing, click the like button, and please leave a comment. Let's get into this video. So step one is very simple. You need to get pre-approved. Without getting a pre-approval, you really don't have any idea of where to start in your home ownership journey. You might not know the steps that you need to take in order to become a homeowner and to meet that dream of yours to home ownership. A pre-approval will do a few things for you. Number one, it will set your expectations straight. Sometimes our dream home in our fantasy mind and our dream home in real life are two different properties, right? We've all done that. If somebody asks me, George, what's your dream home? I might give you a property, 4 stories, 8-car garage. I might give you this unrealistic property, but then you do a pre-approval and that sets you straight. It sets you on that path of, this is a realistic property. This is a property that's within my price point that I can afford at this time. And so with that in mind, you now have a plan. Sometimes the timing is not right for you to buy a house at this time. So if that's the case for you, a proper pre-approval will also give you the steps that you need to know to get to that point. So whenever I do a pre-approval, I don't say, sorry, it won't work for you, and leave you hanging. I will always give you a plan of attack, a plan of action to how you can make that a reality. And sometimes it's not a reality, that's the truth, but I always give you a plan, and then you can decide and say, perfect, this is the plan. I can go out and do these few steps to get that pre-approval to where I need it to be. And so the pre-approval really clarifies things in your mind. It gives you a plan. It gives you the plan of action to move forward and reach for your goal. Without the pre-approval, you don't have a base. You don't have a starting point. Now, with the pre-approval, you can go out and say, we can look into the market. And that's step 2, research, market research. You really want to know what properties are out there. One helpful tip for this is look at the list of must-haves for property. So if your property has to have an attached garage, your property has to have granite countertops in the kitchen, your property, look at the list of must-haves for you and narrow it down to these are must-haves, and then create a second list of like-to-haves. Like I already said, sometimes what we would like to have are not necessarily must-haves. So feel free to just make those lists in your mind or write them down if that makes it easier, and differentiate between must-haves and like-to-haves. With that, you can go into the market and look at properties, research some on your own. You can use links like Realtor.ca. You can research properties that have recently been listed, and by using those tools, looking at property that are within your price point, that have those options that you would like to have or that you must have, rather than the options that you would like to have. Sometimes you can have all of the options, right? You can have your must-haves, your like-to-haves, but sometimes you only focus and narrow it down to your must-haves because of the price point that you're in. You really also want to make a plan for the property. You don't want to just run out and say, my pre-approval came in at this amount, and then run out and try to find a property for that price point. What's the future plan of that property? Sometimes you might think of, this would be a great potential rental. 5 years down the road, we move out, it's now a rental property. Those are really good things to consider now, because not all properties are great rental properties. Sometimes you need to narrow down what's your future goal, and by narrowing down your future goal, you're also setting that expectation of the property that you want to buy today so that you can meet your full dream. After you kind of know the property type that you want to get, the next tip that you really need to consider is getting a realtor involved. Get a professional that knows the market, that understands market values, market trends, somebody that's working with this every day. Because without that, put it in this perspective, you might buy 4 or 5, maybe more property than that in your lifetime. But a realtor works with hundreds of transactions in a year. And so with having that professional in your corner, that's going to be your biggest advantage in your house hunting journey. By having a realtor, sometimes we underestimate the impact that a realtor makes in a mortgage transaction. And in my experience, working with people that are doing private sale and working with people that are working with a realtor, with a market professional in the industry, the difference is huge in the stress level. So people that are doing private sale, they're handling all the documents themselves, they're running errands, they're doing the negotiations, they're doing all of that themselves, and they also need to trust that the seller is giving them the honest advice of the property. And mind you, sellers are trying to sell their property. But by you as a buyer reaching out to a realtor saying, can I view this property? And the realtor now has an incentive to help you. And there's a difference between a selling realtor and a buying realtor. We won't get into that now, but make sure you have a buying realtor, somebody that has your interest in mind, because that will just be a huge stress load off from you. And the realtor knows the market. He knows when something is overlisted. He knows when something is a good deal. He knows what you're really after because you give him that list of must-haves. You give him that list of, this is what I need to see in a property. He can say, hey, something is going to come up for sale. It's in the pipeline. It's coming through. But without that realtor, you really don't know. You really don't have a full market perspective without working with a realtor. And ultimately, we don't want the goal of home ownership to be so stressful for you that you never start. The goal of home ownership, narrow it down, talk to the right people so that it's not stressful for you, but all these different people that are trying to help you with the reality of becoming homeowner. All right, so tip number 4 is not so much another tip as it is a consequence of doing the first 3. So the first thing is pre-approval. By the way, a little insert here, check out our video on pre-approvals if you have any questions at all on what impacts your pre-approval, how to increase your pre-approval. We cover a lot of information in this video right here. Step number 4, we're talking about acting quickly. So if you want to act quickly on a purchase, and there are still some competitive markets in Canada, people always assume when we read the headline and the markets are going down, most of those headlines are big city. So they're talking about Toronto, Vancouver, some of the big cities where the house prices were super inflated and they went up really fast and they've come down. But there's a lot of markets in Canada where there's a very competitive market. And when a good property, like the one that you're interested in, comes up for sale, often there could be a few offers in the property. It could be a competitive situation and you don't at that point want to say, hey, I need all these steps. You want to be ready to put in your offer so that you come on as the attractive buyer that the sellers are looking for. It can really set you apart by having done the pre-approval, by having done your research on the type of property you want, and by knowing and talking to a real estate professional so that when this property comes up for sale, you're not first hunting down all these people that are going to help you put it together. You're ready to buy. And that's really what you want to be. You don't want to be in a stressful situation running after in a panicked way. You want to come across as the most attractive buyer that seller has. And that can set you apart and make the difference and make homeownership a reality for you. And the last tip that I want to share with you is to stay flexible. There's really not going to be that one house that's going to check off all the bells. And if there is, it's a great buy. If there's that property that checks off all of your must-haves and it's within your price point, that's an ideal situation and good for you. But in most cases, you're going to find that there's going to be a few things that are missing, a few things that aren't the way you like them. And in those situations, stay flexible. If the property is in a great location, if you find that all of the market research you've done fits with a property that you're interested in, but there's a few things that you're not so interested in, stay flexible, stay open. There's always a program called Purchase Plus Improvements that you can use to improve some of those things. You can make home improvements on the kitchen, on the garage, on the flooring, on the roof, anything like that, the windows, where now you're not only buying a property that fits what you want, but you're also right away improving the property, therefore gaining home equity in the property. So it is really not the end of the world if it doesn't fit all of your list. It might actually be an opportunity for you and to build equity. All right, now that you have these insider tips, you are equipped to fast track your dream of becoming a homeowner. These tips were designed to equip you and make you as prepared as you can be to buy a home. Just remember that a standard mortgage transaction will take anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the factors that make your file unique. And again, thanks for watching this video. Happy house hunting. Good luck, guys.